right, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
And away we go, episode 1374 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, July 27th, 2026. We are a day away from veterans on Tuesday reporting for 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. We are a week away from the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which is on Monday, August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. And the Washington Nationals already have begun dealing. They in the 12 a.m. Eastern hour on Sunday. What were you doing in the 12 a.m. Eastern hour on Sunday? The Nats in the 12 a.m. Eastern hour on Sunday announced having traded third baseman / first baseman / second baseman Curtis Mead to the Boston Red Sox for starting pitcher Connelly Early. Yeah, the Nats late night on Saturday night made a trade for a guy named Early. A big-time trade, a trade that I like. Coming up later in the show, analysis of the trade and a breakdown of the Nats winning 2 out of 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks at Nationals Park over the weekend. It may be the Nats' biggest series since the 2019 World Series. The Nats now are just 1 game behind the Diamondbacks for the National League's third of 3 wildcard spots. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This also is a podcast in which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. 2026 Washington Commanders training camp is getting going. Rookies reported this past Friday, July 24th. Veterans will report this Tuesday, July 28th. The team will hold its first practice of this camp this Wednesday, July 29th. And next segment, discussion of significant news this past Saturday morning. Washington this past Saturday morning announced having placed 3 players on the active / physically unable to perform list. Edge defenders Dorance, Armstrong, and Deatrich Jr. and cornerback Trey Amos. Also, Washington this past Saturday morning announced having placed cornerback Fred Davis II on the active / non-football illness list. A lot to go through with all of this. We'll do so next segment. The following segment, reaction to the latest on our friend, our pal, our homie, San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Niners training camp is underway, but Aiyuk still, as best as we can tell, has not applied for reinstatement from the reserve / left squad list. It has become really difficult to take his supposed desire to play for our team seriously. You'll also hear what Niners president of football operations / general manager John Lynch during a press conference this past Saturday afternoon said about the Aiyuk situation. And also on the show, I'll talk Baltimore Orioles. They, over the weekend, lost 2 out of 3 games against the Atlanta Braves at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You can reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. From Commander McFly on X, on our guest on last Thursday's show, episode 1372, Stephen Patton, data scientist for Stat Rankings, on his research that revealed that the Washington Commanders' Jaden Daniels was the quarterback most hurt by drops on a per-play basis in the NFL's 2025 regular season out of 40 qualified quarterbacks. This is a reality that has not gotten anywhere near enough attention, writes Commander McFly. Exactly what Commander Nation has been telling the haters. These stats finally prove our point. Hashtag raise hail. Thank you for that, Commander McFly. We all get that Jaden Daniels' 2025 season was more incomplete than anything, given that he last regular season played in just 7 of Washington's 17 games due to getting injured 4 times. But to the extent that he did play, he got let down big time by his pass catchers. He got let down big time by Washington receivers, tight ends, and running backs. 15 drops per FT in fantasy over 188 pass attempts. Stephen Patton calculated that Daniels had plus 0.178 expected points added per play lost on pass attempts that resulted in drops, making him the quarterback most hurt by drops on a per-play basis in the NFL's 2025 regular season out of 40 qualified quarterbacks. Email from Matthias on why the United States isn't better at soccer. We, on this past Friday's show, episode 1373, had an expansive conversation with one of our favorites, Washington Commanders analyst Mark Bullock of Bullock's Film Room on Substack, as we previewed 2026 Washington Commanders training camp by examining the schematic changes for the team with a new offensive coordinator in David Blau and a new defensive coordinator in Durante Jones. And we got bonus Bullock as we got his take on why the U.S. has not advanced past the round of 16 in a Men's World Cup since 2002. Writes Matthias, Al, my dad and family are from Chile, so growing up, we bonded over my dad's adoption of the Redskins, what's more American than football. Our rivalry, as I was an O's fan and he was for the Yankees. Apparently, he saw pride of the Yankees as a kid in the Chilean movie theater. And soccer, especially the frustration of why the U.S. couldn't win. My dad, God bless Eduardo, just turned 90, says 3 things got in our way. Our best athletes play other sports. Our technical abilities aren't developed. Our regional competition is weak. Where are we? When the son of an NFL wide receiver chooses soccer, or in the case of the ladies, an NBA player in Trinity Rodman, we know that we're making soccer realistic for our top athletes. Maybe not our creme de la creme, but hey, on technical ability, Americans have advanced light years in the past decades. My dad says that players' feet have to be like hands, and you can see us in the dribble, ball stop, pass, etc. We can hold our own. But our regional competition. The U.S. plays in the CONCACAF. Our qualifying literally goes through dirt fields in the Caribbean. Europe plays meaningful, high-leverage games every 18 months between the Euro Cup and qualifying. We have those games once every 3 to 4 years. Soccer is a game in which iron sharpens iron. Young talent grows playing against equal or higher-level talent. Teams develop playing in high-pressure games until we rip a page from college football and create a super region combining all the Americas together as one giant group. We will continue to be handicapped when facing top teams every 4 years. Friendlies won't cut it. It has to be real stakes tournament play consistently all the time. Me and my dad, our 2 cents. Thank you for the email, Matthias. And thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Dad of Matthias. Very good analysis. Makes a lot of sense. I do think that the our best athletes play other sports thing is overrated. I mean, the population of this country per the United States Census Bureau is approximately 343 million people. There are enough people in this country to where we should have plenty of high-level athletes who play soccer, especially considering that so many kids do play soccer and that there is great interest in soccer. According to Michael Mulvihill of Fox in a post on X last Tuesday night, July 21st, the World Cup final, Spain's 1-0 win over Argentina on July 19th, averaged 66.4 million viewers in the U.S. on Fox and Telemundo combined. 66.4 million viewers. 42.5 million on Fox, 23.9 million on Telemundo. Largest sports audience other than for Super Bowls since the 1994 Winter Olympics. Also, according to Mulvihill, this in a post on X on July 9th, the United States' 4-1 loss to Belgium on July 6th in the round of 16. That debacle of a match, that match averaged 50.1 million viewers in the U.S. on Fox and Telemundo combined. Monster ratings in this country for the 2026 World Cup. Hey, if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for discussion about the team, especially as training camp has arrived. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com and tell bgobsession.com that Al Galdi sent you. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. Washington Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, during media availabilities in the 2026 offseason, said very little about how players coming off season-ending injuries were doing. That's fine. NFL teams during off-seasons are under no obligation to provide injury reports or detail how players coming off season-ending injuries are doing or anything like that. But given the extent to which Washington in the 2025 regular season got ravaged by injury, got mangled by injury, it was always going to be interesting who the team put on the active/physically unable to perform list going into training camp. Well, now we know. Rookies reported for 2026 Washington Commanders training camp this past Friday, July 24th. Veterans will report this Tuesday, July 28th. The team will hold its first practice of this camp this Wednesday, July 29th. And the team this past Saturday morning, July 25th, announced having placed 3 players on the active/physically unable to perform list. Edge defender Dorance Armstrong, edge defender Deatrich Jr., and cornerback Trey Amos. Also, Washington this past Saturday morning announced having placed cornerback Fred Davis II on the active/non-football illness list. For what specific reason, we do not know, but Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic, she on Saturday morning in a post on X wrote that, quote, Davis is not expected to be out long-term, end quote. The active/physically unable to perform list, sometimes called the preseason PUP list. It is different than the reserve/physically unable to perform list or regular season PUP list, which is a list for the start of the regular season. Players on the active/physically unable to perform list do count against the team's 90-man roster for training camp, but can be activated at any point during camp. We don't know for how long we should expect Armstrong, Wise, and Amos to be on the active/physically unable to perform list. Washington General Manager Adam Peters and Washington head coach Dan Quinn are expected to speak to reporters on Tuesday, but as we have come to know, they do not say much about injuries. And by the way, I don't blame Peters and Quinn for not saying much about injuries. I mean, it does the team no good to be super open about player injuries. What's also important to understand about this active/physically unable to perform list are 2 things. A player cannot be placed on the active/physically unable to perform list after he has practiced that training camp or preseason or after he has played in a game that preseason. B, a player cannot be put on the reserve/physically unable to perform list to start a regular season unless he was on the active/physically unable to perform list in the lead up to that regular season. So if you have any thought that you might want to have a player on the reserve/physically unable to perform list to start a regular season, he needs to first be on the active/physically unable to perform list. A player gets placed on the reserve/physically unable to perform list in the cut down to 53 and must miss at least the team's first 4 games of the regular season. All of this gets complicated and tedious, I know. But I do find this stuff interesting, and it is good to understand the mechanics of this stuff in order to understand the meaning of what a team is doing with this stuff. The concern would be that Washington, in placing Dorance Armstrong, Deatrich Jr., and Trey Amos on the active/physically unable to perform list, has the thought that one or more may need to begin the regular season on the reserve/physically unable to perform list. But again, we don't know for how long we should expect Armstrong, Wise, and Amos to be on the active/physically unable to perform list. Washington placing these guys on this list just may be out of an abundance of caution more than anything. Washington placing these guys on this list may not be that big of a deal. Hopefully, Washington placing these guys on this list isn't that big of a deal. But this episode of the podcast is for July 27th. Washington's 2026 regular season opener is not until September 13th, so we do have some time until that 2026 regular season opener. By the way, it is notable who Washington did not place on the active/physically unable to perform list. Interior defensive lineman Tim Settle is not on the list. That's good news. He's coming off a season-ending foot injury that he suffered this past November while playing for the Houston Texans. Edge defender Javonte Jean-Baptiste is not on the list. That's good news. He suffered a season-ending torn pectoral muscle in Washington's 34-27 loss at the Atlanta Falcons this past September 28th. Dorance Armstrong, to me, is one of the biggest wild cards with Washington this coming season. He's entering his age 29 season. Washington this past March signed 3 unrestricted free agent edge defenders in Odafe Owe, Calebon Chason, and Charles Omenihu. Washington this past March re-signed edge defenders Deatrich Wise Jr. and Drake Jackson, each of whom was scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent in the 2026 offseason. Washington this past April took University of Tennessee edge defender Joshua Josephs in the 5th round of the 2026 NFL Draft, and Washington still has edge defender Javonte Jean-Baptiste, but if Dorance Armstrong is healthy, I would not be shocked if he was number 1 on the team in sacks for the 2026 regular season. He has been very good for Washington, and his injury last season really helped to derail the defense. Armstrong in the 2025 regular season played in just 7 of Washington's 17 games. He suffered a season-ending torn ACL in Washington's 44-22 loss at the Dallas Cowboys last October 19th. But he over 7 games totaled 5.5 sacks, 22 pressures per Pro Football Focus, and an overall grade per PFF of 77.6. That's good. PFF grades are on a scale of 0 to 160 is average. Armstrong in the 2024 regular season played in 16 of Washington's 17 games, totaling 5 sacks. He in the postseason for the 2024 season played in each of Washington's 3 games, totaling 3.5 sacks. He in 19 games over the regular season and postseason for the 2024 season totaled 51 pressures per Pro Football Focus. And what he's done with Washington is a continuation of what he was doing with the Cowboys. So Armstrong spent his first 6 NFL seasons, 2018 through 2023, with the Cowboys, who took him in the 4th round of the 2018 NFL Draft out of the University of Kansas. He, over his first 6 NFL seasons, played in 93 of a possible 99 regular season games. He, over the 2021 through 2023 regular seasons, totaled 21 sacks, including 16 sacks over the 2022 and 2023 regular seasons, and he, for each of those 3 regular seasons, had a pressure rate per Pro Football Focus of at least 11%. That's good. This coming season is a contract season for Dorance Armstrong. Washington, on March 14th, 2024, announced having signed him as an unrestricted free agent. The contract per OverTheCap.com and SpotTrack.com was a 3-year, $33 million deal with $16.125 million fully guaranteed at signing. He is part of a rather expensive defensive front for our team. Washington, per OverTheCap.com and SpotTrack.com, has 6 defensive players, each with a salary cap hit of at least $9 million for the 2026 season. Each of those players is an interior defensive lineman, edge defender, or linebacker. Number 1, interior defensive lineman Deron Payne, $27.95 million. Number 2, interior defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw, $16.2 million. Number 3, edge defender Dorance Armstrong, $12.055 million. Number 4, edge defender Calebon Chason, $11.47 million. Number 5, linebacker Frankie Luvu, $11.295 million. And number 6, edge defender Odafe Owe, $9.2 million. A lot of money up front. Also part of Washington's defensive front is Deatrich Wise Jr. He's entering his age 32 season. Washington this past March 6th announced having signed Wise to a contract extension, but the contract per OverTheCap.com and SpotTrack.com is a nothing contract, a 1-year, $1.45 million deal with $75,000 fully guaranteed at signing. Wise had been set to be an unrestricted free agent in the 2026 offseason. Washington initially signed him in March 2025, signed him as an unrestricted free agent to a 1-year contract. He was to be a key part of Washington's defense last season, but he and the team's 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past September 11th suffered a season-ending quadriceps injury, and one of the great examples of Washington's horrendous injury luck this past season. So Wise was taken by the New England Patriots in the 4th round of the 2017 NFL Draft out of the University of Arkansas. He spent his first 8 NFL seasons with the Pats, 2017 through 2024. He, over his 8 regular seasons with the Pats, was really durable, played in 126 of a possible 132 games, and yet he, in just his 2nd regular season game with Washington, suffered a season-ending quadriceps injury. Just amazing. The atrocious injury luck that Washington had last season never ceases to amaze. Washington does list Dorance, Armstrong, and Deatrich Wise Jr. as defensive ends. Defensive end does usually mean edge defender, but Wise especially profiles as someone who could be used as an end in a 3-4 alignment if, in fact, Washington is shifting to a 3-4 base defense. This gets confusing, but traditional defensive ends, i.e. edge defenders, they in 3-4 alignments get used as outside linebackers. Think Ryan Kerrigan for most of his time with the Redskins. The 3 in the 3-4 alignment usually is comprised of 3 interior defensive linemen, but Deatrich Wise does profile as someone who can serve as an end in terms of the 3 in a 3-4 alignment. He's a big dude. He's listed as being 6'5" and 280 pounds. A guy who has pretty good size for a cornerback is Trey Amos. He's listed as being 6'1" and 190 pounds. He's entering his age 24 season, suffered a season-ending fractured fibula in Washington's 44-22 loss to the Detroit Lions at Northwest Stadium this past November 9th. Would seem to be Washington's number 1 cornerback, and now he is starting training camp on the active/physically unable to perform list. Not good, but again, this could just be the team being cautious, and he can come off this list at any time. But yeah, if you are like me and you have concerns about the team's lack of depth at corner, this news isn't exactly great. Washington took Trey Amos out of Ole Miss in the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft, took him with the number 61 overall pick in the draft. He in the 2025 regular season played in 10 of Washington's 17 games, registering 8 starts and playing on at least 90% of the team's defensive snaps in 5 of his 10 games. He did some good things. He showed promise, although he for last regular season did register an overall grade per Pro Football Focus of just 55.8, below average. And then regarding Washington putting cornerback Fred Davis II on the active/non-football illness list. So Fred Davis II is an undrafted free agent. Washington this past May 7th, in announcing the signings of 9 undrafted free agents, announced the signing of Davis, who played college football for 4 programs over 6 seasons, 2020 through 2022 Clemson, 2023 UCF, 2024 Jacksonville State, and 2025 Northwestern. Quite the nomadic collegiate career for Fred Davis II. His name is Fred Davis II, but he is not the son of former Washington Redskins tight end Fred Davis. I'm guessing that many of you wondered that. I wondered that. But no, Fred Davis II is not the son of former Skins tight end Fred Davis. Maybe one day Washington will sign an undrafted free agent named Robert Griffin IV, who is not the son of former Skins quarterback Robert Griffin III. That would be funny. An RG4 who is not related to RG3. Well, something that I love about summer is how easy everything feels. The days are a little more relaxed, and I find myself reaching for the same comfortable go-anywhere pieces again and again. That's why I keep coming back to Quince. Quince focuses on well-made essentials that naturally become those everyday staples that you actually live in all season long, like the shorts that I got from Quince, a sand dune-colored cotton chino drawstring shorts. They look and feel great. Instantly went to the front of the Goldie shorts rotation. Clothes from Quince are the summer upgrade that your rotation needs. Quince's 100% European linen pants and shirts are breathable and are easy to throw on, starting at just $34. Quince's tees are soft enough to live in all day, and the lightweight cotton sweaters are exactly what you want when summer nights cool down. And everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. Make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Life insurance. You and your family hopefully never need it, but not having it can make a tragic situation even worse. We have a family friend who lost her husband to cancer. Him not having life insurance made the ensuing years even more difficult. Well, Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You'll just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of June 1st, 2025. So veterans report for 2026 Washington Commanders training camp this Tuesday, July 28th. This off rookies reporting this past Friday, July 24th. It was this past Saturday that veterans reported for 2026 San Francisco 49ers training camp. And Niners receiver Brandon Aiyuk, as best as we can tell, has not applied for reinstatement from the reserve/left squad list. And so this whole saga of him so badly wanting to play for Washington continues to diminish. It has become really hard to take this guy seriously, and I now very much question whether he actually truly wants to keep playing football. As we have discussed, the path for Aiyuk getting released and becoming free to sign with Washington, if it even wants him, has been clear. A, apply for reinstatement from the reserve/left squad list on which the Niners have Aiyuk and thus don't have to pay him. B, get reinstated. C, show up for Niners training camp, or at least threaten to show up for Niners training camp. At that point, the Niners almost certainly would cut him, because if they didn't, they'd risk being on the hook for his full compensation for the 2026 season if he at camp suffered a season-ending injury. But as you may recall, Aiyuk on July 7th in an Instagram post said of the Niners that he, quote, will not be reinstating with them nor ever doing any kind of business with them, end quote. Well, that goes against his path that I just outlined, and now Niners training camp has started, and as best as we can tell, Aiyuk has not applied for reinstatement from the reserve/left squad list. Until he does that, it's hard to take his desire to play for Washington seriously. Brandon Aiyuk more and more is coming across like a man of talk, not a man of action. He's all talk and no action. He's all social media posts and no action. I have always been open to Washington signing him if it wants him, but he needs to take the necessary steps to become available to be signed by Washington, and he's not taking those steps. And so why should we take him seriously at this point? And yet, he is continuing this social media campaign to play for Washington, including him this past Thursday on Instagram, putting up a post claiming that he had purchased a $10 million estate in Loudoun County, Virginia. And by the way, Loudoun in the post was spelled wrong. Loudoun, as in Loudoun County, Virginia, spelled Loudoun. The post had Loudoun spelled Loudon. Anyway, Niners president of football operations / general manager John Lynch, he did a press conference this past Saturday afternoon, and he, during the presser, addressed the situation with Brandon Aiyuk. Here was Lynch during the introductory statement of his presser.
Before we do open it up to questions, Brandon Aiyuk, I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. Brandon is on a left squad designation. As such, he's not on our 90-man roster. And, I'm personally, and we as an organization are going to focus on the players that are here. And so I don't have anything to say on that, anything to add to that. We wish him well. We wish his family well.
Okay, and we later in the presser had this exchange between Niners insider Matt Barrows of The Athletic and John Lynch.
I know you wanted to avoid Brandon Aiyuk questions, but as a reporter, I'm obligated to ask you a couple. Is the intention to keep Aiyuk on that reserve left squad list, A, and then B, you guys are playing the Commanders in Week 6. He's been adamant that he's going at some point to join the Commanders. Is this part of your calculus that you're not just going to release a guy so that he winds up on an opponent's roster?
Matt, I understand you got to do your job. I understand, but as I said at the start, he's on that list. That means he's not on our roster, and I'm going to focus on the guys that are and stand by what we've said already.
John Lynch very much taking the high road in this Brandon Aiyuk situation. Remember, Aiyuk on June 27th on YouTube posted multiple videos, including a 3-minute and 33-second video detailing his problems with the Niners. He, in that video, called the Niners, quote, weirdos, end quote, and, quote, creepy predators, end quote, and called John Lynch, quote, a weirdo, end quote, because Lynch at one point came to Aiyuk's house to apologize for the behavior of Niners head coach and former Washington Redskins offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan, who Aiyuk said has the, quote, temperament of an effing toddler, end quote. And yet, John Lynch on Saturday afternoon took the high road. Good for him. And speaking of Kyle Shanahan, how about what the Niners announced this past Saturday at noon? They announced that Kyle Shanahan, quote, was involved in a car accident last week where he suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Coach Shanahan will participate in team activities on a limited basis at the start of training camp while he recovers, end quote. And the details of what happened are brutal. I read to you from a piece co-authored by ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter and ESPN Niners insider Nick Wagner. The piece came out on ESPN.com this past Saturday afternoon. Quote, Shanahan broke his nose, 3 ribs, and his hand, needed more than 40 stitches in his face, and suffered a severe concussion during a July 14th car crash when he collided with an SUV near his Northern California home, according to sources familiar with the situation. After the crash on the evening of July 14th in Palo Alto, paramedics took Shanahan to a local hospital where he spent much of that night before his release. According to Palo Alto Lieutenant Nicholas Martinez, the other driver suffered no injuries. Martinez said drugs and alcohol were not involved and that both drivers were cooperative with the police. No one was cited for the collision, end quote. The 2026 season will be Kyle Shanahan's 10th season as Niners head coach. Get this, tying him with Bill Walsh for the longest tenure by a head coach in franchise history. Yeah, Kyle Shanahan this coming season is set to tie Pro Football Hall of Famer Bill Walsh for the longest tenure by a head coach in Niners history. Well, quite the weekend for the Washington Nationals. They made a major trade and they won what was arguably their biggest series since the 2019 World Series. The Nats over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks at Nationals Park. Friday evening, a 3-2 loss to the Diamondbacks, but Saturday, a 5-3 win over the Diamondbacks to snap the Diamondbacks' 4-game winning streak. And Sunday afternoon, a 10-7 win over the Diamondbacks in a game in which the Nats overcame a 4-2 fifth-inning deficit. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 54-52 with a run differential of plus 30. The Diamondbacks in this regular season now are 55-51 with a run differential of minus 3. Yeah, the Diamondbacks are 4 games above 500 despite a run differential of minus 3. And the Nats now are just 1 game behind the Diamondbacks for the National League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. Much more on the big series win for the Nats in a bit, but the 2026 MLB trade deadline is a week away. It's on Monday, August 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern, and the Nats late night on Saturday night / early Sunday morning announced a significant trade. The Nats in the 12 a.m. Eastern hour on Sunday announced having traded third baseman / first baseman / second baseman Curtis Mead to the Boston Red Sox for starting pitcher Connelly Early. A fascinating trade. We have been wondering whether the Nats, in doing surprisingly well in this season number 1 of a restarted rebuild, would be buyers or sellers regarding this trade deadline. Well, what may be the case is that the Nats are both, because this trade from a Nats perspective has elements of both buying and selling. This trade from a Nats perspective was both a buy-side trade and a sell-side trade. I do like this trade for the Nats because it is emblematic of great process. We on this podcast are big fans of great process. We on this podcast are big fans of the Nats process under President of Baseball Operations Paul Taboni, who, since being hired by the team last October 1st, has gotten the team to be in on analytics like never before. And not so coincidentally, the team is having this surprisingly successful season. So the Nats bought low on Curtis Mead, got him to be a very good hitter, and now have sold high for a promising starting pitcher. How do you not like that process. The Nats, this past March 28th, traded minor league catcher Boston Smith to the Chicago White Sox for Mead. He came to the Nats with minus 0.2 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference and an OPS of just 617 in 488 plate appearances over 152 career MLB regular season games and having played for the Tampa Bay Rays and Chicago White Sox. The Nats turned Mead into someone who, for them, in this 2026 regular season had 2.0 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference and an OPS of 852 in 327 plate appearances over 87 games. Look, Curtis Mead for the Nats was a really good player. They are going to miss him. There's no doubt about that. But the Nats sold high on this guy for a starting pitcher in Connelly Early, who is in just his age 24 season and is under team control through the 2031 season. Now, Curtis Mead also is young and is under team control for years to come. Mead is in his age 25 season and is under team control through the 2030 season, but a young, high upside starting pitcher who is under team control for years to come and who already has done well at the major league level is a rare commodity, especially via trade. Guys like Connelly Early do not become available via trade often. Connelly Early for the Red Sox at the major league level in regular season games. 21 games, all starts, 111 innings, ERA of 3.24, whip of 1.23, strikeouts per 9 innings of 9.89. So he already has shown that he can do well at the major league level, although yes, the sample size isn't exactly enormous. So the Red Sox took Early in the 5th round of the 2023 MLB first-year player draft out of the University of Virginia. He graduated from James River High School in Midlothian, Virginia, attended the United States Military Academy, West Point, for 2 seasons, 2021 and 2022, before transferring to UVA. A key item with this trade is that Early is on the 15-day injured list due to left elbow inflammation. That is concerning, of course, but he is not expected to need UCL surgery or anything like that. And Paul Taboni, during a session with reporters on Sunday morning, did say that he does expect Early to pitch for the Nats this season. This trade was more a move for the future than for the now, but that doesn't mean that Early can't help in the now. Here was Paul Taboni on Sunday morning.
The Curtis that we've seen this year is, I think that's Curtis for the next 5 years. I really, really believe that deep down inside. And to part with that, that's really hard, But what I think would make us willing to do it is acquiring young starting pitching. It's incredibly difficult to do in today's game. You can look at it, like over the course of the last 5-10 years, there aren't a ton of young starting pitchers with this much control that have been dealt. So, it just, as luck would have it, it was just kind of a fit for both teams because of the makeup of our teams in terms of like where our strengths are, where their strengths are. So yeah, we're fortunate, but at the same time, like I said, it's like we're really excited. At the same time, it's like a combination of being sad, seeing Curtis leave.
How real is the Curtis Mead who we have seen this season? Is this who he now is, or is he performing at a level that he'll never reach again? Because make no mistake, who he has been this season is not close to who he had been. But whatever the case, the Nats sold high on him and got a guy in Connelly Early about whom there's a lot to like. Now, there's also this with the Nats trading Curtis Mead. It certainly seems to be an endorsement of third baseman Brady House. And sure enough, the Nats on Sunday morning announced having recalled House from AAA Rochester. The Nats this past May 19th announced having optioned House to AAA Rochester. They took him with the number 11 overall pick in the 2021 MLB first-year player draft out of a high school in Georgia. Not good that he had to spend more than 2 months in AAA via a demotion nearly 5 years after being drafted, but he, in that stint for AAA Rochester, did do well, although still more so against left-handed pitching than against right-handed pitching. He does need to improve against right-handed pitching. Now, House for the Nats in their 10-7 win over the Diamondbacks on Sunday afternoon was the Nats starting third baseman and number 5 batter and had a nice game. He went 2 for 5 with an RBI double and another double. House in the Nats 3-run 7th had a went-out RBI double to the left center field gap off the warning track for a 7-4 Nats lead. Meantime, what the Nats trading Curtis Mead means for starting pitcher Foster Griffin is anyone's guess, although my guess is that the Nats are going to trade Griffin. We'll see. But like I said, the Curtis Mead trade is more of a sell-side trade than a buy-side trade, although the trade, truthfully, is both a sell-side trade and a buy-side trade. But the Curtis Mead trade is an indication that the Nats are leaning more towards selling than the Nats are leaning toward buying. And that doesn't mean that the Nats are going into full-fledged rebuild mode here. I think the timeline for the Nats has been accelerated, but I think Paul Taboni is thinking more beyond this season as opposed to just this season. But we shall see. Foster Griffin did pitch over the weekend. He was the Nats starting pitcher in their 5-3 win over the Diamondbacks on Saturday, and he was good. Not at his best, but he was good. He allowed 3 runs in 6 2/3 innings, ending his streak of allowing no more than 1 earned run in each of 8 consecutive starts, tying the Montreal Expos/Washington Nationals franchise record for most consecutive regular season starts in which a pitcher, excluding openers, allowed no more than 1 earned run in each start. He gave up 6 hits, which were a double and 5 singles, issued a walk and a hit by pitch, recorded just 2 strikeouts, threw 108 pitches, 66 strikes, 42 balls, received a really nice ovation upon being removed from the game in the top of the 7th. Look, this outing came just 9 days before 2026 MLB trade deadline day. Who knows if that was Foster Griffin's last outing as a Nat at Nationals Park? Who knows if that was Foster Griffin's last outing as a Nat, period? It's also worth noting this outing came just hours after a piece by MLB insider Joel Sherman of the New York Post came out on Saturday morning saying that, quote, extension talks fizzled quickly, end quote, between Griffin and the Nats. Not what you want to read or hear if you are a Nats fan who wants the team to sign Griffin to a contract extension. Foster Griffin now in this regular season, 21 games all starts, ERA of 2.76, whip of 1.03. He, as of games through Saturday, was number 8 among all MLB pitchers in wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, 3.8. He's doing this on a 1-year reported $5.5 million contract in what is technically his rookie season, and off having spent the previous 3 seasons pitching in Japan. You talk about production per dollar. Foster Griffin has been one of the best free agent signings from this past MLB offseason, but the fact that, per Joel Sherman, quote, extension talks fizzled quickly, end quote, between Griffin and the Nats, that does not bode well for the Nats not trading Griffin. The Nats offense and the team winning 2 out of 3 games against the Diamondbacks at Nationals Park over the weekend. Bad in Game 1, but good in Games 2 and 3, and leading the way was shortstop C.J. Abrams. So the 3-2 loss to the Diamondbacks on Friday evening, the Nats were not good offensively. Just 2 runs, just 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The Nats did draw 3 walks, but Diamondback starting pitcher and former Baltimore Orioles prospect Eduardo Rodriguez allowed 2 runs in 6 innings, despite giving up 7 hits and issuing 3 walks. He over 6 innings threw 98 pitches, 63 strikes, 35 balls. The Nats did a good job against them in terms of getting on base and making them work, but Rodriguez did a good job of changing speeds, missing barrels, and limiting the damage. Dylan Cruz hit the homer. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter. Went 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer and a single. Cruz in the Nats 2-run 4th had a 2-run homer to left field to tie the game at 2. The homer went a projected 405 feet per StatCast. The 5-3 win over the Diamondbacks on Saturday. The Nats were good offensively. 5 runs, 9 hits, which were a home run, a triple, 3 doubles, and 4 singles, 7 walks. And the run total could have been even higher as the Nats went just 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. But C.J. Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 3 for 4 with a solo homer, a 2-run double, and a single, and he went 1 for 2 on stolen bases. Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 7 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run triple. Jacob Young had a nice game. He is the Nats starting center fielder and number 6 batter, went 2 for 4 with 2 singles, and he went 2 for 2 on stolen bases, and he had an outfield assist. And Dylan Cruz, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 5 batter, went 0 for 1, but with 3 walks. And the 10-7 win over the Diamondbacks on Sunday afternoon, the Nats were great offensively. 10 runs, 15 hits, which were 4 home runs, 5 doubles, doubles and 6 singles, 3 walks, 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position, just 4 strikeouts. C.J. Abrams, he is an starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run homer, a solo homer, and a single. James Wood, he is an starting right fielder and number 1 batter, went 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer, a solo homer, and an intentional walk. So Abrams and Wood each homered twice. Dylan Cruz, he is an starting left fielder and number 3 batter, went 3 for 5 with a double and 2 singles. C.J. Abrams has gone nuclear. Abrams, for this month of July, has the following slash line. Are you ready for this? Batting average of .397, on base percentage of .420, slugging percentage of .836. He, for this regular season, now has 27 home runs, a record for the most homers by a Nats shortstop in a regular season since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. He, for this regular season, now has an OPS of .940, ranking number 4 among all qualified players in MLB. What a season C.J. Abrams is having. He is in just his age 25 season and is under team control through the 2028 season. Will he be traded in the lead-up to the upcoming trade deadline? You know, the Nats right now could command a haul for this guy if they do want to trade him, but the Nats, to me, should be trying to extend him, although doing that will take a haul. James Wood, he for this regular season now has 30 home runs and an OPS of .953, ranking number 2 among all qualified players in MLB. Think about that. The Nats for this regular season have 2 of the top 4 players in MLB in OPS, as the Nats continue to be number 1 in MLB in runs. That total now is at .584. And I mentioned Dylan Cruz a good bit. A nice series for him. He, for this month of July, now has an on-base percentage of .395. Good to see that. The Nats starting pitching in games 1 and 3 was mixed. The 3-2 loss to the Diamondbacks on Friday evening. The Nats used an opener who was relief pitcher Carson Palmquist. He officially allowed 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings as he gave up a double and a single and had 1 strikeout versus 3 walks and throwing 41 pitches, just 23 strikes versus 18 balls. Palmquist at the major league level in this regular season has not done well as an opener. 5 starts, ERA of 10.45. Starting pitcher Zach Littell came into the game to serve as the Nats bulk pitcher. He did well. He officially allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up just 4 hits, all of which were singles. He threw a lot of strikes, 77 pitches, 54 strikes, just 23 balls. Zach Littell in this regular season, so hit or miss. His overall stats, 21 games, including 13 starts, ERA of 5.17, whip of 1.34, but he actually has allowed 2 earned runs or less in 13 of his 21 outings. It's just that his bad outings have been really bad. And the 10-7 win over the Diamondbacks on Sunday afternoon, Miles Mikolas allowed 3 runs in 4 innings. No opener for Mikolas in this game. He gave up 4 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and a single. He issued a walk and a hit by pitch. Recorded just 1 strikeout through 63 pitches, 39 strikes, 24 balls. Miles Mikolas now in this regular season, 22 games, including 9 starts, ERA of 5.65, whip of 1.33. We do appear to be getting close to starting pitcher Jake Irvin coming off the 60-day injured list. Not that he has been lights out, but might it be the spot of Mikolas that Irvin does take in that Nats starting pitching rotation? I wonder about that. The Nats relief pitching in the team winning 2 out of 3 games against the Diamondbacks at Nationals Park over the weekend was good in games 1 and 2, but bad in game 3. The 3-2 loss to the Diamondbacks on Friday evening. The Nats used 3 pitchers beyond opener Carson Palmquist and bulkman Zach Littell. Tom Cosgrove officially tossed a third of a scoreless inning, but he and the Diamondbacks 1-run 7th faced 3 batters and got just 1 out as he gave up a 1-out single, issued a 1-out walk to load the bases, and gave up a 1-out RBI sac fly for a 3-2 Diamondbacks lead. Orlando Revolta tossed 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 3 strikeouts. He came into the game in the top of the 7th with runners on first and second, 2 outs, and the Nats down 3-2. He, on the very first pitch that he threw, gave up a double steal, and he, to the first batter he faced, issued a 2-out 4-pitch walk of Nolan Arenado to load the bases, but Revolta worked his way out of that jam and then tossed a scoreless top of the 8th with 3 strikeouts, and Max Kranick tossed a perfect top of the 9th. The 5-3 win over the Diamondbacks on Saturday, 2 Nats relievers combined for 2 1/3 perfect innings. Eddie Jean tossed 1 1/3 perfect innings on just 16 pitches, and Clayton Beeter tossed a perfect top of the 9th on just 9 pitches for the save. But the 10-7 win over the Diamondbacks on Sunday afternoon. 5 Nats relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 5 innings. Riley Cornelio allowed 1 run in 2 innings. He gave up a double, issued 2 walks and a wild pitch, and recorded no strikeouts. Max Kranick tossed a scoreless top of the 7th, despite giving up a 2-out double. Tom Cosgrove allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He in the top of the 8th allowed a run on a double, a single, and an RBI sac fly. Matt Crook officially allowed 2 runs without recording an out. He began what ended up being a 2-run ninth for the Diamondbacks by issuing 3 consecutive walks, and then got pulled from a game that he entered with a 10-5 lead. He threw 14 pitches, 3 strikes. Versus 11 balls. How about that strike-to-ball ratio? 3 strikes versus 11 balls. And Clayton Beeter officially tossed a scoreless inning for the save, despite giving up a 1-out RBI single and despite issuing a 2-out walk. Not at all good that Nats manager Blake Butera had to use a 5th reliever to close out this game, given that the Nats entered the 9th with a 10-5 lead. The last thing that the Nats need to be doing right now is overworking this bullpen, given how bad the bullpen has been, and given the schedule. Don't lose sight of this. The Nats' next scheduled off day is not until Monday, August 10th. The Nats from Friday, July 24th through Sunday, August 9th have no scheduled off days, 17 games in 17 days. So we'll see if any bullpen moves for the Nats happen in the coming days. So the Nats this past Thursday afternoon announced that relief pitcher Justin Lawrence, who the Nats last Tuesday afternoon, July 21st, announced as having designated for assignment, had cleared outright waivers, had been assigned outright to AAA Rochester, and had accepted that assignment to AAA Rochester, as he is a player with at least 3 years of Major League service, had the option to declare free agency in lieu of accepting that assignment. Next up for the Nats is the 3-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays at Nationals Park. The Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Monday evening at 6:45, Andrew Alvarez. Game 2 Tuesday evening at 6:45, Cade Cavalli. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 1:05, Zach Littell. And the Blue Jays starting pitcher for Monday evening is scheduled to be former Nats ace Max Scherzer, who's coming off the 15-day injured list, which he's been on since June 17th, retroactive to June 14th, due to back spasms.
Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine the exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like. Fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's odoo.com to learn more.
So the Baltimore Orioles this past Friday afternoon held a press conference in honor of them the previous Saturday afternoon, July 18th, having announced that starting pitcher Kyle Bradish had agreed on a 5-year contract extension for the 2027 through 2031 seasons. Speaking at the presser were Bradish, Orioles president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Elias, and Orioles controlling owner David Rubenstein. And Rubenstein, during his opening statement, said this.
We want to make sure that our best players are with us for quite some time, and we have the resources to do this. So I want to thank the players for being here to support Kyle. I want to thank Kyle for doing this, and I want to thank our fans for staying with us for some difficult times. But now we're in pretty good shape. The last 10 games or so, I'm very proud of where the team is, and I think we've got. While we still have some health issues from time to time that we have to deal with, on the whole, I think we've got a team that's in pretty good shape, and I think we're going to make a really solid run for the playoffs and beyond that. So I want to thank the players for being here, and thanks for the hard work you guys are doing in some difficult circumstances at times. And Mike, thanks for pulling us all together and making this happen.
Okay, so David Rubenstein saying, quote, I think we're going to make a really solid run for the playoffs and beyond that, end quote. Well, the O's, if they're going to make a really solid run for the playoffs, do at some point need to get above 500, and that is proving rather elusive right now. The O's over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the Atlanta Braves at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Friday night, a 7-6 10-inning loss to the Braves. Saturday night, a 3-2 walk-off win over the Braves. The O's won despite blowing a 2-1 8th-inning lead. Sunday afternoon, a 3-2 11-inning loss to the Braves in a game in which the O's overcame a 2-0 8th-inning deficit by scoring a run in the bottom of the 8th and a run in the bottom of the 9th. Super tight series. Each game a 1-run game, but the O's did lose the series. They in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 51 and 55 with a run differential of -14 and now are 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians for the American League's third of 3 wildcard spots. The Braves in this regular season now are a National League East best 62 and 43 with an NL East best run differential of +107. The Braves are running away with the NL East. The O's in this series totaled just 11 runs, a disappointing series for the Orioles offense. Now, the 7-6 10-inning loss to the Braves on Friday night, the O's were good offensively, 6 runs, 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 6 singles, 7 walks, but that run total could have been even higher as the O's went just 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position and struck out 11 times. Christian Encarnacion Strand, he is the Orioles starting third baseman and number 8 batter, went 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer and a 2-run double. Pete Alonso, he is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 2 for 5 with a double and a single. The 3-2 walk-off win over the Braves on Saturday night. The O's were, shall we say, good enough offensively. 3 runs, 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles, 4 walks, 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The O's struck out 14 times, but did win. Dylan Beavers was the walk-off hero. He is the Orioles starting right fielder and number 1 batter, went 2 for 4 with a walk-off RBI single, another single, and a walk. Beavers in the bottom of the 9th had a walk-off 2-out first pitch RBI single through the right side of the infield for a 3-2 Orioles win. Gunnar Henderson, he is the Orioles starting shortstop and number 3 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer and 3 strikeouts. And Christian Encarnacion Strand, he is the Orioles starting third baseman and number 5 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. And the 3-2 11-inning loss to the Braves on Sunday afternoon, the O's were not good offensively, just 2 runs, just 6 hits, which were a home run and 5 singles. 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. That drove you nuts watching this game. The O's did draw 6 walks, but the O's struggled against Braves starting pitcher and former Washington Nationals prospect Reynaldo Lopez. He tossed 5 2/3 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Pete Alonso did homer. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 2 batter, 2 for 4 with a solo homer, a single, and a walk. Alonso for this regular season now has 22 home runs and an OPS of .812. I mentioned Christian Encarnacion Strand. How about this guy? 30 plate appearances over 7 games with the O's at the major league level. OPS of 1,155. Not bad. The O's on July 16th announced having recalled Encarnacion Strand from AAA Norfolk. The O's this past April 13th acquired him via trade with the Cincinnati Reds for cash considerations. But he is part of the Orioles roster maneuverings that continue with the team being hit hard by injury for a 3rd consecutive season. I mean, we had what happened with outfielder Jonathan Rodriguez recently. The O's this past Thursday afternoon announced several roster moves, including having optioned Rodriguez after the previous day's doubleheader and having designated him for assignment. The O's that previous day, last Wednesday afternoon, announced having recalled the guy from AAA Norfolk. The Orioles starting pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Braves at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend. Good in games 1 and 2, not good in game 3. The 7-6 10-inning loss to the Braves on Friday night. Trevor Rogers was good for an 8th time in 9 outings off having been bad in each of 7 consecutive outings. He allowed 2 runs in 7 innings with 6 strikeouts versus no walks. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 doubles and 4 singles, through an astounding number of strikes. Rogers over 88 pitches, 72 strikes versus just 16 balls. Remarkable. Trevor Rogers in this regular season, 19 games, all starts, ERA of 4.17, whip of 1.27. But Rogers, since the start of June, has been great. He, for the month of June, had an ERA of 2.05 over 5 starts. He, in this month of July, has an ERA of 1.48 over 4 starts. The 3-2 walk-off win over the Braves on Saturday night. Brandon Young, again, was good. He allowed 1 run in 6 and a third innings with 6 strikeouts, gave up 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles, issued 2 walks, 94 pitches, 58 strikes, 36 balls. Brandon Young now in this regular season at the major league level. 17 games, all starts, ERA of 3.13, whip of 1.29. But the 3-2 11-inning loss to the Braves on Sunday afternoon, Shane Baz allowed 2 runs, 1 earned in 4 and a third innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were a double and 5 singles, issued 2 walks, recorded just 2 strikeouts, threw a lot of pitches. He over his mere 4 and a third innings threw 90 pitches, 55 strikes, 35 balls. Now, the Orioles did not lose this game due to the pitching, okay? I mean, you lost 3-2 in 11 innings. 2 runs in 11 innings was the problem. But this was a disappointing outing for Baz, who had been doing well. Shane Baz, for this regular season now, 21 games, all starts, ERA of 3.98, whip of 1.39. The Orioles' relief pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Braves at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend was mixed, as Rico Garcia does continue to struggle. So the 7-6-10 inning loss to the Braves on Friday night, 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 5 runs, just 1 earned in 3 innings. Rico Garcia allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 8th, gave up a 1-out solo homer by Drake Baldwin to right field on a 1-2 pitch to tie the game at 3. Andrew Kittredge allowed 4 runs, all of which were unearned in 2/3 of an inning. He, in the top of the 10th, allowed 4 unearned runs as second baseman Jackson Holliday committed a run-scoring throwing error with runners on first and third and no outs to give the Braves a 4-3 lead. Holliday made a terrific diving catch of a bouncer by Jim Jarvis, but then made an errant throw to second base. Kittredge then generated back-to-back swinging strikeouts of the Braves' numbers 1 and 2 batters in Drake Baldwin and Ozzie Albies, but Kittredge then gave up a 2-out, 3-run homer by Matt Olson to right center field on a 1-2 pitch for a 7-3 Braves lead. The homer winner projected 416 feet per Statcast. The 3-2 walk-off win over the Braves on Saturday night. 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Rico Garcia again gave up an 8th-inning homer. He gave up a game-tying solo homer in the top of the 8th, allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 8th, gave up a leadoff homer by Ozzie Albies to right field to tie the game at 2. Yadier Cano did come through. He tossed a perfect top of the 9th to preserve a 2-all tie. And the 3-2 11-inning loss to the Braves on Sunday afternoon, 5 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run, which was unearned in 6 2/3 innings. Hard to be mad at the bullpen. Josh Walker tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having recalled Walker from AAA Norfolk. Anthony Nunez tossed a scoreless top of the 7th on a whopping 28 pitches. He issued 2 walks into wild pitch, but did generate back-to-back swinging strikeouts for the last 2 outs. So he threw 28 pitches, just 14 strikes versus 14 balls. Albert Suarez tossed 2 scoreless and hitless innings. Tyler Wells tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 10th despite issuing a leadoff walk. And Andrew Kittredge allowed 1 run, unearned in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 11th, gave up a leadoff opposite field RBI double by Austin Riley into the right center field gap for a 3-2 Braves lead. But regarding Rico Garcia, he now has given up an 8th-inning solo homer in each of his last 3 outings. You know, this guy was unhittable over late March, April, and May, but he has really struggled over these last 2 months. Next up for the O's is the 3-game series at the Detroit Tigers. The O's have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1, Monday evening at 6:40, Kyle Bradish. Game 2, Tuesday evening at 6:40, Dean Kramer. Game 3, Wednesday afternoon at 1:10, Trevor Rogers. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1375. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are home to the Toronto Blue Jays Monday evening at 6:45 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. The O's are at the Detroit Tigers Monday evening at 6:40 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Before we do open it up to questions, Brandon Aiyuk, I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. Brandon is on a left squad designation. As such, he's not on our 90-man roster. And, I'm personally, and we as an organization are going to focus on the players that are here. And so I don't have anything to say on that, anything to add to that. We wish him well. We wish his family well.